I'd like to welcome everyone back, and today we're going to study Exodus chapter 38. Now, God spent a lot of time teaching us to worship, as we can see in these last chapters. Now, worship is very important to God, and worship led by the Holy Spirit is true worship. But when worship is focused on man, it is adultery. I'm going to start reading verse 1 and 2. If you can follow me, that would be just great. He made the altar of burnt offering of acacia wood. 5 cubits was its length, and 5 cubits its width. It was square, and its height was 3 cubits. So I just want to remind you that a cubit is from the elbow right up to the tip of the middle finger, or it is 6 palms. Verse 2, he made its horns on its 4 corners, and the horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. Verse 3 and 4, he made all the utensils for the altar, the pans, the shovels, the basin, the forks, and the fire pans. All its utensils he made of bronze. And he made a crate of bronze network for the altar, under its rim, midway from the bottom. Now the basin was to gather blood, and the shovels were to gather ashes, and there was a fire pan to put out the fire. And on the top half is where the offering of the sacrifice was laid. Verse 5 to 7, he cast 4 rings for the 4 corners of the bronze grating, as holders for the poles. And he made the poles of acacia wood, and overlaid them with bronze. Then he put the poles into the rings on the sides of the altar, with which to bear it. He made the altar hollow with boards. Verse 8, he made the lever of bronze and its base of bronze, from the bronze mirrors of the serving women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Now in this mirror of bronze, people could see themselves. Verse 9 and 10, then he made the court on the south side. The hangings of the court were of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long. Verse 10, there were 20 pillars for them, with 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. Verse 11, on the north side of the hangings were 100 cubits long, with 20 pillars and their 20 bronze sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. Verse 12, and on the west side there were hangings of 50 cubits, with 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver. Verse 13, for the east side the hangings were 50 cubits. 14, the hangings of one side of the gate were 15 cubits long, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. Verse 15, and the same for the other side of the court gate. On this side and that were hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. Verse 16, all the hangings of the court all around were of fine woven linen. Verse 17, the sockets for the pillars were bronze, the hooks of the pillars and their bands were silver, and the overlay for their capitals was silver, and all the pillars of the court had bands of silver. Verse 18, the screen for the gate of the court was woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine woven linen. The length was 20 cubits, and the height along its width was 5 cubits, corresponding to the hangings of the court. Verse 19, and there were 4 pillars with their 4 sockets of bronze. Their hooks were silver, and the overlay of their capitals and their bands was silver. Verse 20, and all the pegs of the tabernacle and of the court all around were bronze. Verse 21 to 23, this is the testimony of the tabernacle of the testimony, which was counted according to the commandment of Moses, for the service of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Bezalel the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made all that the Lord had commanded Moses. And with him was Aholiab the son of Ahishmach of the tribe of Dan, an engraver and designer, a weaver of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and of fine linen. The tabernacle was known as the tabernacle of testimony, and people were seeking to experience God in truth. Now, the purpose of the tabernacle is that God would come and they would have an experience with him. Verse 24. All the gold that was used in all the work of the holy place, that is, the gold of the offering, was 29 talents and 1,730 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Verse 25. And the silver from those who were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents and 1,775 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. Verse 26. A bekah for each man, that is half a shekel, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, for everyone included in the numbering from 20 years old and above, for 603,550 men. Verse 27. And from the 100 talents of silver were cast the sockets of the sanctuary and the bases of the veil, 100 sockets from the 100 talents, 1 talent for each socket. Verse 28. Then from the 1,775 shekels he made hooks for the pillars, overlaid their capitals, and made bands for them. Verse 29. The offering of bronze was 70 talents and 2,400 shekels. 30. And with it he made the sockets for the door of the tabernacle of meeting, the bronze altar and the bronze grating for it, and all the utensils for the altar. Verse 31. The sockets for the court all around, the bases for the court gate, all the pegs for the tabernacle, and all the pegs for the court all around. So that was it for today. I want to thank you all for joining me, and I want to also say God bless you all until the next time.